She's a visionary master storyteller, a game changer in the Indian film industry, and somebody who's produced a movie which essentially everyone in our country would have seen, and something that has made 1.3 billion people proud. Whether 1.3 or 1.4, that is debatable, but one thing that isn't debatable is her contribution to what the country has done on the global stage. It gives me immense pleasure to be able to welcome the person who's won us the Oscar, and also a person who inspires not just because of the Oscar and her contribution to cinema, but who inspires because of the way she is. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your virtual hands together, and you can put your hands together for none other than Guneet Monga.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for coming home.
Thank you for doing this. You know, I've always believed, and we were chatting about this, that the future of our country is shaped in our classrooms, and it's so important to take people such as you to the classroom. The fact that this is going to classrooms live means a lot to me, because we need role models such as you. But you know, you started, your journey is very interesting. From PVR, being an announcer at PVR, to DJ, an anchor, and then your dad wanting you to sell insurance, to now essentially representing Indian cinema globally. When did you know that this is your calling? Because those who are 16, 17, 18 and 19, they're yet figuring out their calling. So when did you figure out that this is your calling?
Firstly, thank you for having me here, and I'm so happy to talk to everybody virtually and to meet you and the audience in my house very sweetly. Thank you for coming and having me. You know, so for me, it definitely started from my school, Bluebells International, which is in Delhi. I was a prefect. I was, in fact, a premiere that we both attended a couple of days ago. There's an actor there who said, "Do you remember you confiscated my shoes?"
Oh, you did that?
And he was a prefect. So there are some incredible people from my school also here in the industry. So people remember growing up that time together.
Okay, interesting story. Sorry to ask you, but if you're comfortable, who's the actor?
Pavel Gulati.
Okay.
It was really interesting, our elevator conversation, and I was like, he's like, "You were my pink house prefect." I was like, okay. It was quite sweet. Yeah, for me it started from school. I think from very early on, what I think I had was a sense of responsibility, saying yes to taking responsibility, even if it was beyond my scope. I think that is an inherent thing that I learned from my dad, and my situation at home and my upbringing in my school. I was somebody who said yes, I would. I didn't know how, but I figured it out. So I think a trait that is really, really important is that sense of confidence and sense of common sense. You know, because we all know, if we all know how to speak, if we all know how to, irrespective of the language, Hindi or English, you know, you start having interpersonal skills, and it comes down to basics. You know, so I actually feel like it started by me saying yes to responsibility and to owning up that responsibility, and then trying to do my best, almost innovating, because not knowing the rules, अब हाँ तो बोल दिए,
correct, अब तो करना पड़ेगा,
अब कूद तो गए हैं, तो you know, I live by that saying that when you're on the edge of the cliff, you jump.
Yes.
You know, you actually won't fall, you'll grow your wings on the way, and you'll figure a way out. So my entire life has been that. I have gone into extremely uncharted territories.
Yes.
कि ये कैसे होगा, कोई भी assignment है, as an intern or as a head of a project, or as a producer of a project, or as a head of a project that somebody else is producing and has hired me as the head of the project, which was, you know, once upon a time in Mumbai, or international films that I did. Um, so then you figure out, okay, step by step, ये कैसे होगा? What does this project entail? How are we doing this? How are we setting the communication around it? What is the transparency around it? The more easily the communication flows, the lesser barriers that you have, it gets easier from the heads to the interns to everybody to be aligned. So somehow that's been my view into the world, into every assignment, and giving your best and making sure that you wake up and you give your best.
You give your best. And you've produced some cinema which is very different from the cinema we saw a couple of days ago. But there is space for commercial cinema, there is space for commercial messaging, which also has social commentary as such, as a part of that. And then there is some sort of cinema which you make, which is essentially more about the social commentary and less about everything else. And which is why my question to you is this: that how do you identify and nurture such content-driven projects? And how do you even think of balancing it with commercial viability, or is it just something that you believe that, you know, this is something that I need to invest in and therefore my heart is saying it, so let's do it?
Actually, there is nothing you can do without commercial viability, and I am not somebody who comes from money. I come from extremely humble backgrounds, and for me it's been raising money per project. And you cannot sustain if you actually don't recover on one project. So I do everything which is commercial. I am the biggest Hindi film fan ever. I was the loudest in that room at the Rocky Rani premiere.
His debate between you and Kajol, there was a
maybe she was 2 rows up and I was 2 rows down, so every row had their loudest.
No,
but people did come up to me and said,
I saw that, yes.
So I'm the biggest TDLJ fan ever. It's all over my Instagram. But you know, when I came into this city, I started from where I could. So it's not about your ideal journey. मैंने भी यही देखा. I've also seen Gadar and DDLJ and grown up and understood cinema. You know, and then stood up for opportunities that came my way. I worked with international filmmakers. I worked with Ekta Kapoor. I worked with Anurag Kashyap. I put together a film called Lunchbox that was distributed by Karan Johar. So that, you know, this world that I got introduced in the first 7-8 years of me being in Bombay, from the people that I worked with, defined what I could do. And I started with where I could, how I could, with the access I had, you know, and I had access into independent films. I had access into those scripts that came to me, you know, so I was like, how do we make the best out of this?
Right.
And I educated myself constantly. My company is called Shikhya Entertainment, which means keep learning, keep growing. Seek se Shikhya bana hai. And that is in our DNA.
Right.
So when a certain piece of material is given to you, and when you read those 100 pages, you're like, okay, this is an action film. This is a drama.
Right.
This is a larger than life love story. You
Right.
know? Maybe I can do this where I am in my life and the access that I have. You know, so I am not disillusioned about the access. And the kind of money that I can raise, the kind of, you know, I have crowdfunded for Peddlers, Haramkhor on Facebook. There were no crowdfunding platforms there. And that time my access was under 2 crores, you know, of projects that I could make. Once they got delivered, I was able to make 6-7 crore projects. I was able to make then 10-15 crore projects. I was then able to make 25 crore and under projects. You know, so one grows with years, with time, and you start trying to expand your boundaries and expand the need of stories with more and more footprint, with more and more packaging, and with success comes more access. You know, so it's a circle. But coming into this city, it's not easy to be a producer when you don't come from money. and I raise money per project. So you have to deliver per project. You have to tell the financier that आपका काम आता है, you know, and then explain actors, you know where this is going. Then you have to make a safe space for everyone, that you know how to market this and how to position it in a way that it will be cheered, it will be far and wide celebrated.
Correct.
And in my quest of learning,
Right.
I did go to film festivals,
Right.
and I learned a lot about international financing that led me to raise money for Masan, for Lunchbox, for Monsoon Shootout, and learn new types of distribution, which was global distribution. That's how Lunchbox happened. That's how we were able to, increase the footprint beyond India and Indian diaspora.
And what you've done with that is phenomenal. And I think your documentaries speak for itself.
Thank you.
All of them speak for themselves. But something that you brought to light, you said that access is something that increases over a period of time. And today we live in a day and age where when we're interacting with young people, at that juncture, one of the things I've observed is that all of us, millennials or Gen Z or even now Gen Alpha, everybody wants the result, wants 100 on 100 immediately. They want to get the job done immediately. There is no, in a large sense, there is that perseverance, which I saw in my role model, Rahul Dravid. And he used to stand, I don't know whether you were a cricket fan, but
Of course.
but I'm assuming that.
Of course.
So he was there on the crease and he used to always just wait till the ball was a bad ball and then hit it. But today it's the day and age of T20. So it's not the day and age of Test cricket as much, which is why in the day and age of T20, how do you yet continue to want to persevere? Because the only thing is, when you don't get that result, usually it is, I'm not good at that task, let me try something else. And because we live in a world where opportunities are so many, therefore, how do you strike that balance in terms of perseverance?
You know what is really important? The result is not important. The destination is actually not important. What is success? I had to define success because मैंने तो जिंदगी में 100 करोड़ की फिल्म नहीं की ना. But मेरे peer group में, मेरे atmosphere में 100 करोड़ is celebration. It doesn't matter कि वो फिल्म अगर 80 करोड़ में बनी, हम लोग 2 करोड़ में बना के 10 करोड़ बॉक्स ऑफिस कर रहे हैं, या आप 80 में बना के 100 करोड़ कर रहे हो, that is irrespective. But 100 करोड़, I have never touched that mark. So am I not successful? So I had to spend some time articulating success for myself, and that was liberating. So success for me is showing up every morning inspired. Period. If I can wake up every morning inspired and excited to do what I am pursuing, is the fact that I am successful. That I'm not stressed about my reality, I am not fretting over a result, I am not defining myself with a result. What I'm trying to do is waking up every morning and doing my work and feeling really great about the day. And that is success. I'm enjoying this moment. And that is ultimate success. So I work in long format. I get results after 2 years, 3 years of a story.
Correct.
Things that I'm working in now, you will see in 2025.
Right.
But I'm inspired about him today. I'm just like, एक दिन वो आएगा, वो बहुत अच्छा होगा. मैं आज अगर उस पर मायूस हो गई ना, तो वो मैं कभी कर ही नहीं पाऊंगी. So for me, when I defined this success, it liberated me fully. So the result doesn't matter.
Result doesn't.
The journey matters. And I would say, start now, start where you are, start with what you can, and start ghatiya. Perfection is an interpretation of someone's mind, or maybe somebody else's validation becomes perfection. But the journey to that is your own. Nobody told us that. Nobody in India wanted to distribute Lunchbox when it was made.
Okay.
And nobody told us that we will be able to sell the whole world in one day after our premiere in Cannes. So nobody prepares you for that.
Correct.
We were making Elephant Whispers through the pandemic.
Right.
The director, my incredible director Karthikeya Gonzalez, is a still photographer, is a natural history photographer, and is the first time making a movie. So who tells you what is ideal and what is perfect? She doesn't come from assisting somebody. She doesn't come from anything that you have heard on what one should do as filmmaking 101. She followed an instinct, found a story, found a camera, and shot a moving story. And from stills moved into a moving story without going to a film school or a film set. So there's no rules to this. It's common sense, and it is showing up every day. It's persistence, and there is no shortcut to that. We kind of understand that when we go to gym very easily. कि 1 साल लगेगा बॉडी बनने में, it's fine. 6 महीने लगेंगे या 2 साल लगेंगे. Your everyday consistency, that is embedded in us.
Sure.
But when it comes to work, when it comes to your everyday job that we do, nahi hoga na overnight. Nothing is overnight.
Correct.
So it is years of work.
Perseverance.
Perseverance is at the key. Consistency.
Correct.
Is at the key of it, and somewhere you find your tribe, you find your people, you find, you start doing the right things. But you go through all the wrong alleys, and that is the journey.
You said something very beautiful about how you picked up Karthi and how she was a still photographer and then now produced and directed an Oscar-winning movie per se, in the sense that she is the person who is shot the entire thing.
She's the first Indian director to win an Oscar.
Correct, and to that
and this
end,
is her first film.
And this is the first film. But to that end, it's a very important parallel that I want to try to draw. As I.I.M.U.N, this is 16, 17, 18, they're yet finding what they want to do. And whether it's me or whether it's the advisory board or whether it's whoever who are supposed to be the ones who are directing them or guiding them or producing them, how do you identify? This is a personal question that I'm asking on camera, but how do you identify that this person is good for a particular thing? There are lots of boys and girls who are, say, head boy, head girl in school. They are choosing their committee for a festival. How do you identify who is good for what? And therefore, I use the term producer director quite loosely in the conversation because that is why you are both producer and director.
Yeah, I think conversation and instinct and letting your instinct grow is the art. You can do whatever business. एक बार मतलब सपोजिंग आप अपना कोई भी काम अकेले स्टार्ट करते हो और फिर आप कुछ लोग हायर करते हो, कुछ सही लोग, कुछ गलत लोग. Always set expectations. Always say, okay, let's see how we work for 1 week. If it's a school project, let's see how we work for 3 months. If it's a professional setup, So set expectations सामने वाले की और अपनी. I think the person on the other side, actually it's not even on the person you're hiring, it's on you. How clear are you with the job profile or with what you need? Have you written down what you need from the person you are meeting? What is the skill set? When you start asking those questions to yourself, it gets easier for you to navigate a bunch of people and maybe stumble upon your choice, and then see in a review period of if it comes through or not. And then be able to course correct. What I really want to say that after a point of time of building an organization, building a team, making multiple projects or whatever business that one is on, एक पॉइंट के बाद ना आपका काम सिर्फ एक ही होता है, to be a good HR.
Correct.
Because you are defined by the people you choose.
Correct.
To be around you, to do the work. So I actually like having people who are far more brighter than me.
Which is why this organization is also run by 16 to 22-year-olds. All are far brighter than me.
Yeah, they're far more aware, far more enthusiastic and hungry, to be able to take on to work, responsibility, so faith over fear.
And faith over fear, you put it brilliantly, but I must also ask you, how important is academia in terms of shaping a person? Because you mentioned again about Karthi, and you said that she didn't have the necessary preconceived. I'm sorry, I'm going completely off script.
That's
I'm
fine.
just going to but because you're mentioning things that are so pertinent to young people. How important is academia and the so-called educational qualifications in order to succeed in life? Is it a prerequisite, or can one do without it as well?
I think your basic schooling is important. Those are formative years, 16, 17 years of formative years of also human skills, of groups, and those friendships last lifetime. So I think schools are really important.
Principals will be happy.
Post that I feel of course colleges are liberating, and you get into a certain college because of your parents or your own choice, but all those years are formative years.
Right.
And after that, I think life lessons are important. There is no shortcut to the internships that you can do. I actually believe that if one wants to intern in various jobs,
Correct.
options, media, social, environment, policy,
Correct.
Education, whatever space
Sure.
that one wants to go in, sales, tech, coding, one should pick up as many internships as possible. Those are golden years. And once you know where your jam is, where you wake up inspired and excited, that this is what I love, and for me it's not a job, it's my passion. I freaking love it, and then you double down on it, you
Correct.
triple down on it, do it to your heart's content, and then if you have mind space and time and career opportunity, you do post-grad to make a specialization from the best in the world.
Understood.
But post-school college, I think life lessons are more important than continued academia and education.
And academic rigor.
Yeah,
per se.
so I feel 4-5 years of life needs to be lived in the real world, and internships need to be done, and questions need to be asked freely. Yeah.
And scientific inquiry. And thank you for saying what we keep saying in colleges across the country as well.
Yeah.
That it's very important in order to get them to volunteer and do things and experience life in reality, in
Yeah.
comparison to a classroom per se. But how important is the fact that life skills that are being imparted in, before I come to the next question, which is in terms of films, and come back to that, but the life skills that you would say that young people should have to succeed in the 21st century. I know that the term success is something that the definition of that changes from person to person. But according to Guneet Monga, what would be the 3 skills that a young person who's watching this today, who's 16 years of age, should have when he or she turns 21?
Okay. I think having certain sense of common sense and being able to look out for yourself. That you're in a safe space, you're in an inspired space, you call out, harassment, bullying, or just, that sense of common sense needs to be there. Where that you are even when you're interning somewhere, that this is helping me, this is growth oriented. So common sense is at the core of it. The power of saying yes. Just get into it. You've been protected for so long. And by that age, I think people are in a place where they're raving and raging to go out there.
Correct.
In the world, because they know it all. or their peer group, they've done some travel, they just know their way around.
Right.
So I think the power of saying yes.
The power of saying
The
yes.
power of saying yes and showing up there is no shortcut to that.
Right.
And hard work and honesty. Be honest to yourself, to your people. Claim your mistakes easily. Learn your lessons easily. Be grateful that you're learning some things so early.
Correct.
So acknowledgement of mistakes. And an honesty. This will last you a lifetime, and this will you'll grow leaps and bounds just with some basic human traits like honesty, like acknowledgement, like gratitude. And there is no book that teaches you that. It
Correct.
is life that teaches you that. It's parenting and it's the whole atmosphere that teaches you to be grateful. So I think those kind of life lessons and working hard
is important.
Is important.
Gratitude is one quality that I think is very, very important. I am very grateful personally for both you and Karan Johar. The reason I tell you is because whenever we go to countries overseas and in countries which do not know much about India, where embassies are not present and where we try to spread this message of India in a small way, the one thing that is common is that, and in English, aren't you from that same country that has Shah Rukh Khan or Amitabh Bachchan? And cinema for India has done much more in terms of soft power than any other field, in my humble opinion. But people like yourself, they shape the mindset of what other people overseas will think of India. To that end, if there are young aspiring filmmakers who are watching, in order to get produced by Guneet Monga and to change and in order to enhance India's image internationally, what should it be that they should be doing?
I mean, today everybody has smartphones and high-end cameras in their hand. So I would say learn from Kartiki. Start where you can. Start with what you have, and put together a teaser, trailer of the stuff that you want to do. Learn edit, learn putting together music, those visuals. So Kartiki actually sent me a trailer of a possible film.
Okay.
So she'd followed the story of Raghu and Boman for over a year, shot some visuals, and shot some visuals of them and the jungle, and gave perspective, had a bit of a story arc, on what this film could be. And with that trailer, I was like, yes, we want to do this, and so did Netflix. So we all came on board on a pitch trailer.
Okay.
Wow. So and that's how it started.
Wow.
But that pitch trailer was her 1.5 year journey.
Right.
So it didn't happen overnight.
Right.
It was finding a story, it was articulating a story, it was shooting a story, it was putting it together, putting the edit, making the music, and we were like blown away by the trailer. So we were like, let's make this movie.
Right.
So I think it's again common sense. And a bit of an innovation that I'll make a trailer and then I'll say, would you fund this movie?
So that's how you get to Guneet Monga. You make a trailer from your phone and then you email it across, and hopefully she will produce
It's worked once and that won an Oscar.
And it's
no pressure, guys.
And it's these kind of remarkable stories which actually inspire people, saying that yes, you can.
Yes.
Because in a world where everything otherwise happens through sifarish and references, it's very rare to see this kind of a story. And I'm very glad that I am being able, the organization is able to tell the story in that small way, that you just send across a documentary, it gets picked up and it becomes an Oscar-winning documentary. And I think that is kudos to you and Kartiki. But I must ask you this also, it's a male-dominated spectrum, cinema, just like very many other fields. When we look for, and I must honestly confess, when we look for role models who can inspire, there are few across domains who are women who have been given that opportunity / who have reached there. How was your journey when you started out in terms of producing films? Was it difficult when it came to a male-dominated world, or do you think by the time you made your entry into cinema in India, that was slightly more easy?
I mean, it is male-dominated, money-dominated, film family-dominated, perception-dominated. It is age-dominated. It is contacts-dominated. Everything dominated. And I'm neither a diamond merchant or a builder's child. My parents and I used to stay in a rented house for 5,000 rupees. I came here and I was sharing an apartment with 4 other girls in Lokhandwala, like one room. But I wanted to be a producer. So I don't think my head also went into what all it is dominated by. My head was just like, this is what I wanted to do. I was excited what I wanted to do. I celebrated my 1 crore film to no end. I distributed my film and actually stumbled upon discovering a whole distribution platform through schools. My first film, I raised money from my neighbor and came here to tell a story, and it was a children cricket film called Say Salam India that released the day India lost the World Cup. And then in 2007, and my film, even though it was released, it was sent back by cinemas. कि ये हमारा सिनेमा जल जाएगा अगर आपने अभी क्रिकेट की बात भी करी, तो पुराना 2 हफ्ते पुराना फिल्म ले आओ, वो हम वापस चला देंगे. It was Namaste London and Bija Fry that came back to cinemas, and my film, even though it was released, was put out there, was let out. And then I took all those and I didn't know what to do, and I raised money from my neighbor. But a sense of responsibility, acknowledgement that it's not my fault. Oh, what can I do to bring this money back? How do I distribute a film? That actually didn't have a theatrical distribution. I actually started going to schools. I went to my school and I told my principal in Bluebells that I used to see movies where 50 rupees per bacha you used to take us. Can you please do that? And she was like, sure. And then I went into a single screen behind my house in Delhi, Sapna Cinema, and I said, आप सुबह 9 से 12 के शो में कितना पैसा कमाते हो? And they said 4 से 5 हज़ार. ऐसे मैं आपको 10,000 दूँ, आप मुझे सिनेमा दे दो. So it was a 1,000-seater, 50 rupees per kid, 50,000 rupees for that show, 10,000 for hiring the entire place, and 40,000 was clean mine for one show. Clearly, I did not understand entertainment tax back then. I didn't even know about it. My world was just like, यहाँ से 50 आएगा, उनको 10 देंगे, 40 हमारे. And kids, for the first time in my life, I saw a 1,000-seater full, and kids loved the film. When you hit your target audience, आपको सब लोग उससे पहले बोल रहे थे ये कैसे देखेंगे, उनको पसंद नहीं आएगा, इसको पसंद नहीं आएगा. That I've heard all my life. The marketing ज्ञान I've heard all my life. ये कौन देखने आएगा? From Salam India to Gangs of Wasseypur to Lunchbox to whatever. ये कौन देखेगा?
Sure.
ये किसके लिए बन रही है? And then it goes on to become something that things find their TG. And so when these kids saw this film, they loved it. It was a 1,000-seater full, and they were jumping, dancing, and it was celebrating the whole thing. I went back to my principal and I said, would you just give me a letter of appreciation? And I straight took that to DPS Arkipuram, and I did the same deal there with around, I did some 20 shows with Sangam Cinema Samne and Arkipuram. And then all other DPS in Delhi got activated. And then I went to my college and I said, we're all studying mass communication here to get out there and make films. I graduated 3-4 years ago and I've made a movie. And it's bombed for no fault of mine. India lost the World Cup, cricket became irrelevant, and mine is a cricket film. It's a classic, Jo Jeeta Wo Sikandar, rich school, poor school, last ball per how the good versus evil. It's a classic, that storytelling, a sports film.
Correct.
And I said I need volunteers and I will give them internship letters from my studio that's releasing the film, which was Ad Labs back then. And I had 27 boys on bikes as my interns. And we started activating schools by the, I was 23 myself. 22, 23 years old myself. I was 21 when I started making this film, and I was 22 or 23 by the time all this was happening. And yeah.
This is lovely.
We ended up doing 350 plus shows.
Wow.
And recovering all the money back to the point of once it became autopilot, and once the whole process of 50 rupees per bachcha and morning shows जो वैसे single screens नहीं कमा रहे थे उसमें पैसे. Once I discovered this business model, I went and sold interval for 15 minutes to brands. You know, so only the interval was 15,000, 20,000. I was like, 1,000 kids come to your product sampling. You know, so that's how. But who teaches you this? It is the need of recovering that money. And whatever one has learned, with whatever access one has. My access was my school. तब तक मैंने उतनी दुनिया देखी थी. You know, so you start where you can, and you start with what you have. And I recovered the entire money back and gave it back to my investor, and that's what I told myself, that I can be a producer, and I have never lost money. So I make commercial cinema, and what is commercial is that you're able to recover your money back, and that's the projects I say yes to, and I come on board thinking, where can I take this story? What door can I open? I have knocked on Martin Scorsese's house to give him a DVD of Gangs of Wasseypur. I have just met Quentin Tarantino in a breakfast and said, you know, I'd love to discuss a project with you, and I think you're incredible. And I met Karan Johar in a dinner in Cannes for the first time, and I said, I've made a love story, nobody in India wants to distribute, will you see it? And it was Lunchbox. And that's how he came on board to distribute it. But the power of freely asking. And being able to do this authentically, with all your homework, with everything. It's not just, you know, it's not barging into somebody's space, but just using it effectively and hope that works. And there is no logic or there is no school that teaches you this.
Correct.
It's basic ethics, honesty, hard work, and faith.
That is
you know, that it will come together.
Absolutely loved the story. This should be another documentary. The one where you actually, from the 10,000 and the 50,000, the entertainment tax, and then the entire journey. I was quite captivated in listening to what you just said. It's a remarkable journey of yours in terms of reaching where you have, quite literally by yourself, without, and like you rightly said, where you went. You saw somebody at breakfast, and then you had that conversation at breakfast saying, you know, perhaps why don't you have a look at this?
Yeah.
And taking that chance, and that is something that sometimes young people are afraid of doing, saying, what if, you know, that is Karan Johar, this is Guneet Monga, there is Sachin Tendulkar, how do we actually even go and reach out to them? But, you know, to have that fire in your belly, to have that conviction, like you rightly said, if you are pushed to the edge, if you are standing on the cliff, then automatically there is no other opportunity.
Also, you've done the work to that. You're
Right.
not just like getting out of your bed and saying, I'm going to meet this person in a cafe shop and hound them. You know, but what have you done to get till there?
Correct.
You know, so what is your body of work? What is your level of internships or assistants? And if you're good at it, nobody's going to let you go. You're anyways going to move up the rank. You will not need to barge into a coffee shop. I'd made a film. I had picked up money from around the world, and I was wanting to distribute it in India. I had done all my distribution screenings, and no studio wanted to pick it up. And then we went to Cannes. We sold the whole world minus India for Lunchbox. India was not sold. The whole world got sold. And then we are told that you have to stay back for an audience choice award, or you know, or something that might happen. You're not clearly told that, but you just said that, you know, the film's tracking really well, so stay back for. And that is when it was 2013, and it was around 100 years of Indian cinema, and Karan was part of the 4 directors' film, Zoya, Karan, Dibakar, Anurag, and they were in Cannes, and there was a common dinner. And I just thought that, you know, I'll go up to him and say, would you present a film? It happens in the West.
Correct.
Would you do it here? And I only have India rights available. But I had done 3 years of work to actually go up to him and say,
of course,
made a film, would you just watch it? It's picking up so many laurels here. Would you consider and market it and distribute it and celebrate it in India? And I actually wanted to learn it from him because he's the best in the business for that. So while I know that we made the film and our incredible director Ritesh and we made the film, but marketing and distributing is a whole separate ball game that I actually learned just watching him on Lunchbox and making it a film to be watched in India. And it did extremely well in box office here, so that credit goes to him. So it's a journey.
And the humility also comes through, the gratitude comes through. I think everything that you spoke about comes through in your conversation, saying where you've reached, and even still attributing that journey and the life lessons from the people that you've picked them up from. So I'm quite honestly, I'm glad that we have you on this series called I.I.M.U.N's Role Model series. From the very many that we run, this is apt for you. But I can't leave you without a small rapid fire. At the end of which we can't give you a hamper as big as what Karan gives. But I'm going to, the first word that comes to your mind when I say the following words.
Okay, I'll try.
When I say Shikhya Entertainment, what's the first word?
My heart, my first love.
Oscar?
Glory, gratitude.
Red carpet looks?
Fun.
Social media?
Piece of work.
Mental health?
Very important. Therapy.
Youth?
Energy.
Schools?
Sacred.
Indian?
Beautiful. Diverse.
And the last one, the most important one, you'll be judged by that, is I.I.M.U.N. When you hear the term I.I.M.U.N. or the organization, what do you think of?
I actually don't know much about it, so I'm new to it. I'm learning, but I'm happy that there is an organization putting so many schools and so many point of contacts together, and I hope all your efforts move from strength to strength.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And glad, so I'm very grateful that you were a part of this and that you inspire young people. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you. Thank you for coming over.